It is 9:49 a.m. and right now I am focused on GGII as well as GEGI. Unfortunately, this one pains me, but I had a verified canceled. I tried to buy at 9:35, which was right here at 17 because it kind of looks like a dip and rip, almost a baby morning panic bounce play, and I liked how I was trading around VWAP. And this one ended up working very nicely. I just never got filled with this one, and I don't know where I would have sold because that's all speculation. It's not like I actually got filled, but that was a pretty cool potential setup right here, and I am watching this one if it can perhaps maybe break above VWAP, uptrend the way it did right here. Maybe it downtrends and it holds around VWAP. Maybe it touches it, maybe it gets a little below it, but it's higher than here. And then that could be like a higher low setup and something that can try to build itself if it's trying to, uptrend slowly, but now start to have these exponential green days before it might try to turn around. And then GGII, I'm watching this for the same thing, but for a different reason because of the fact that maybe this one can try to reverse, but I'm not too optimistic on it, but if it shows a potential pattern, I will be interested in that. That's all I have for right now. Okay, it is 10:04 a.m. and I did have a trade with GGII, and it was a thing I was talking about in the previous recording. The idea that it was going to have the downtrend, it shows that it can uptrend, and then maybe it tries to do something around VWAP, and then it can be a higher low. It turned out that, at least at the time, it looked like it was going to aggressively hold above VWAP and not get below it if you don't count this little tiny wick right here. And I did buy at 951, 25,000 shares at 45, so that was right here, thinking that it was going to hold because there was a nice amount of people supporting it at the bid, and then the ask wasn't looking that strong, so I thought it might try to hold above VWAP, although I would have liked it if it were to have went under it. It still showed the price action that I wanted to see, and it did uptrend, but it only got as high as 48. But I did try. I mean, it could have, tried to have broken the day high or something like that. It just didn't end up being that profitable. But at 954, I did sell just a tiny position, 5,000 shares. That was at 954. So right when it started the work at 46, just a tiny piece, a fifth of my position. And then I sold half of my position at 47 at 955 right here at the bottom of this candle right here. And I sold the rest at 956 the minute afterwards at 47 because it looked like it wasn't going to continue the uptrend but just make a top right here that's lower than here. And that is what it has done. Maybe over a longer period of time. I mean, it's already somewhat in the making. This thing can try to do like a symmetrical triangle, and then it can try to break even further towards the upside, maybe something like this, and then something off of this. And if it breaks the top part, that's going to be a potential setup, especially because it could maybe try to bounce because it's just down so much from where it used to be. Or if it breaks the bottom part, it might even downtrend some more. So I'll be looking into this. And GEGI did make a dip towards VWAP, but this was a lot uglier to trade. So I didn't trade it, but that one can be a setup too. I will make an update later. All right, I just wanted to make an update because I realized that I've done this like a few times now. I hope it's not something I have to go through. Ideally, it's just something I screwed up with a few times and then it just doesn't happen again, or at least not as often. I did actually still have 5,000 shares left with the GGI position while I was looking at it, and I was wondering why my balance was like lower. I was like, this trade didn't like fail. Why do I have like a lower balance right here? It should be higher because in theory I made a profit on this, but it ended up being that I still had 5,000 shares left, so I sold that as soon as I found out at 10:12 at 48. And now it is doing the thing I was talking about with the ascending triangle, but it's been throwing me off the entire uptrend. In theory, I could be in at 48. I did have a verified cancel trade right here to buy 30,000 at 48, but I did get rid of it because I didn't like how I placed the order and then 48 was at the ask, but then we had like another big bidder, not a bidder, but a seller at 48 show up with 300,000 shares. So it feels like if it's going to do it, it's going to struggle a lot because there are just a lot of sellers at the ask, which I mean, it makes sense and all because it is trying to get towards breaking the day high, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who, are down a lot. They're trying to sell into the baby uptrend that it's making, and they're not letting it really uptrend. That totally could be a possibility. So yeah, that was the case with that. I shouldn't have done that. I did sell again the last 5,000 shares at 48. In theory, I should have sold at 47, back at 956, which was right here. And yeah, I did not know that was the case. I was wondering why my balance was so much lower. And as for GEGI, this one is uptrending. This one will be nice for morning panic bounce play because it's going to have to do one eventually. But for right now, it is trying to be exponential. It reminds me a lot of IND. IND did something similar to this not too long ago, especially this one right here looks more like GEGI right now with the way the candles are shaped and everything. If it can drop around VWAP, I'll be interested in it because now it could be something where this could be the shoulder of a head and shoulders. It makes the head at some point, and if it downtrends and it looks like it might try to make a shoulder, I could buy, and then it, in theory makes an uptrend. It makes the shoulder that I can sell into, or if it's aggressive, it can try to not be a head and shoulders pattern and then try to break the day high. That could be something interesting. I'll keep looking at GGII. I probably would have taken a setup with this one if I saw less sellers at the ask. Otherwise, this is what I have for right now. I just managed to have 5,000 shares left. I thought I sold everything, but I still had 5,000 shares. Okay, it is 11:35 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be up on a day, $7.50, and that was that one trade with GGII. I didn't have as many shares as I should have, at least compared to $40 risk level. It seems like I was supposed to have maybe 40,000 shares, so I obviously was probably too nervous or something. I just didn't have the right size for that reason, and I didn't trade this one as well as I could have because I don't like how I didn't notice that I still had a piece of the position still left, and I at least was able to sell that rather soon. It wasn't like hours later or something really dumb like that, but it could have downtrended, and that would have been pretty painful if I didn't notice that. Yeah, I was actively wondering why my balance was so low. I was even looking to see if maybe Fidelity was charging some kind of a fee or something, but I just wasn't close enough to notice that it was the small position left until a few minutes later. But yeah, that was the setup there, and there wasn't really anything else that I was interested in. As for GGII, this one I did miss out on the buy at 17, which was painful. And I was watching for like a head and shoulders, the shoulder, the head. This was one dip that could have made the shoulder, and then this was the other one, and it just kind of trades all ugly. So it wasn't really a point where I was able to go long. And this one right here at 196, there were a lot of sellers above this 2 cent level, so that didn't allow it to work out, and I lost interest in this one. It didn't really have the same amount of volume as it did in the beginning of the day. We do have a dip here that was lower than the morning low, but nothing really that I would have considered. That's a bit random, even if it does show like a bounce. That's pretty much it. I was also looking at DPLS. It did turn around ultimately, but it didn't offer that much range. That's it for today. I had that potential setup with GEGI, then maybe one of the dip buys over here, but that wasn't as ideal as this one. And at least I did have that one trade with GGII right around this point right here when it was looking like it was trying to hold VWAP. That's all I have for today.